land trust, and they owned 3 million acres down there in fee, and they were grazing revenues of 10,000 a year or something like that. And they were sitting on this incredible amount of oil, and basically that company is now actually part of Chevron, and it went through Texaco and did all kinds of things, and there's still a Texas Pacific Land Trust, but a lot of that property is fee owned by their minerals are owned by Chevron, which is some advantage, but it's an interesting subject, I'll put it that way, and we will not be making any offer for control of Occidental, but we love the shares we have, and we may or may not own more in the future, but we certainly have warrants on which we got as part of the original deal on a very substantial amount of stock at around $59 a share, and those warrants last a long time, and I'm glad we have them. Okay, station 7.
My name is Max Joe. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I have a question for Charlie regarding a statement you made in the past. You once mentioned that you would prefer to hire someone with IQ of 130 who believes it's 120 over someone with IQ of 150 who thinks it's 170. I understand that you were referring to Elon Musk. Given the recent success of his ventures, such as Tesla, SpaceX, and Starlink, I'm curious to know if you still hold the view that Elon Musk overestimates himself. Thank you so much.
Well, yes, I think Elon Musk overestimates himself, but he is very talented, so he's overestimating somebody who doesn't need to overestimate to be very talented.
There's a Bill Maher program, about a week old, maybe 2 weeks old, but he interviews Elon, and Elon does a terrific job toe-to-toe with Bill Maher, who it's worth watching. And Elon he's a brilliant guy, and I would say that he might score over 170, but he he dreams about things, and his dreams have got a foundation.
He would not have achieved what he has in life if he hadn't tried for unreasonably extreme objectives. He likes taking on the impossible job and doing it. We're different. Warren and I are looking for the easy job that we can identify.
Yeah. If we can do it playing tic-tac-toe, we'll do it, I mean,
we have a wholly different way of going at life.
The whole way. Yeah. But we don't want to compete with Elon in a lot of things. I mean,
we don't want that much failure.
Yeah. Yeah, and it takes over your life in a way that it just doesn't fit us. But there are going to be, there have been important things done by Elon already, and it requires. Fanaticism isn't the word.
Yeah, it is the word.
Okay. Well, it isn't quite the word, but it's a dedication to solving the impossible, and every now and then they'll do it, but it would be torturous to me or Charlie, and I like the way I'm living, and I wouldn't enjoy being in his, but he wouldn't enjoy being in my shoes either. No. What's the Bill Maher interview? Okay, Becky.
This question comes from Foster Taylor. At the 2010 Berkshire annual meeting, you said the one question that you would ask of the Berkshire CEO would be about the distribution of cash to shareholders as the Berkshire cash pile grows larger and larger. So let me ask that question. Do you still feel confident of the future prospects for our over $100 billion in cash on hand, Or are we getting closer to cash distributions?
Well, the one thing, if Berkshire shares are selling for less than we think they're worth, that could be a pretty big way to distribute cash. But what we'd really like to do is buy great businesses. If we could buy a company for $50 billion or $75 billion, $100 billion, we could do it. And we can do it, and our word's good. It's difficult with a public company because, in effect, if you bid on a company, you make the bid, and their shareholders vote months later, and you're giving an option. If we're good for it, and the other guy has a way to top you, or all kinds of things, they can get out of it, and you get paid 2% for that or 1% for that. That is not an appropriate price. And on the other hand, Delaware will decide whether they should do it or not, and that's the way the world is. I mean, that's the law. So it'd be easier to do with a private company, and there aren't very many that are big. On the other hand, there's nobody else that can quite make a deal like we can under the right circumstances. And there could be a situation where a number of very decent companies have got a very uncomfortable borrowing structure, and money comes due to them at the exact wrong time, and that's when they pick up a phone, as did Tiffany and Harley Davidson and you name it. I mean, a whole bunch of companies in 2008. That sort of thing will happen again, whether it results in us getting the calls or what the world is exactly at that time. But the one thing we know is that the number of phone calls that you can make at a time like that is very, very limited. And there can be good companies. They don't want to sell the company necessarily, but they just may need $5 or $10 or $20 billion, depending on what company you're talking about. And that can happen, and our own shareholders can be selling the stock too cheap, and we'll never do anything to make them sell it cheap, and we'll tell them the truth about what the business is. But if market circumstances result in us being able to buy in $50 billion of our own stock, we'll buy it. So we'll see what the world holds. But we don't have the opportunities we used to have, but we've got enough, and we're making money with the things we have. It isn't killing us to hold 130 billion of bills at 5% plus bond equivalent yields, and everybody says, well, yields are going to go down in the future. I don't have the faintest idea what yields are going to do in the future.